I found that one of the most important things to establish with new customers and existing customers is trust. You might think that having the ability to build awesome technical solutions and fabulous products is the way to go. It's important, but I think it's a secondary thing, at least in my experience. I would personally focus early on establishing trust. The customers typically come from a pain point. Typically, if they are not having a CRM or not having a technology solution or not having a website, and they're coming to ask for this, it's, maybe they're coming from a pain point, they're coming from a big problem, they are coming from a point of growth at least. So they're investing some money, they're investing time, and typically technology projects would go for a very long time. It might go for 1 month, for 3 months, for 6 months, and probably 9 months and more. So you wouldn't expect someone to continue to work with you for 9 months without establishing some grounds of being friendly towards each other and trusting each other. So trust is one thing that I try to focus on as early as possible, because once trust is established, then the customer is more accepting of anything else to follow. Even if you build a mediocre product, if they trust you, they know that you try to build them the best thing ever. If they trust you, they, even if you say you don't know, they are more likely to accept that. If you suggest that we change from X to Y, they're likely to accept that. Even if you do something wrong, they are also more likely to accept that if they already trust you. So trust builds like a foundation on top of which we can do other things. So I personally try to get the customer to trust me as early as possible in projects. I'm particularly talking about the context of a Salesforce consultant doing an implementation for a customer, or maybe starting to support a customer. But this is applicable to, I would say it's applicable to other projects as well, other types of projects. There are some things I typically do to achieve this, and I encourage you as well to pick whatever is what you think is meaningful, whatever you think is valuable from this list. One thing that I think is extremely important and doesn't just affect trust, but it also affects confidence, your confidence, and as a result, the customer's trust, and that is being organized and prepared. So this is number one, like be organized and be prepared. And like what does that mean? If I may break this down a little bit. One thing is to do research. Typically, before I start working with a new customer, the way we did that in the past, I would have some information about the customer before I actually meet with them. Maybe from the sales team, maybe from a statement of work. I have some information about the customer. So the first thing I do is I do some research about them. Find their website, I read about what they do, who do they serve, their customers, if they are a nonprofit, their audience, see their presence on social media, look the history of events that happened with that organization recently, find out where they are coming from, what they do, and whatnot. That is going to give you some context, so that when they start explaining their business process, you understand it quickly, you know what's happening, and you can even initialize or initiate the conversation with talking about something like congratulating them about some award that they received recently. The moment you start showing them that you did your research, then you get that bit of trust. You start earning that bit of trust. You don't just do research and you just like keep it to yourself, but rather you do research and then you need to deliver that message to them that you have done your research. You need to see this one way or another. Another thing I would do is to, and pretty much everybody does, but I think, like it's my humble opinion that people don't use it as extensively as they should be, and that's the project management tool. We typically just like grab a project management tool in which we put the to-dos and the action items, but it is not very utilized. I feel like we should overuse the project management tool. I would rather over communicate rather than under communicate. So once we have a project management tool, and from a point of a Salesforce consultant starting a new implementation project or similar types of interactions with customers, I would start working on the project management tool before meeting with the customer for the first time. So, for example, an example is we talk to the sales team. We know that we are starting this new project. Maybe I have a statement of work that I looked at. We create the project management tool, let's say Basecamp, Jira, Linear, whatever. And then I ask the team, and maybe I do it myself, to invite the customer before even meeting them. So before we meet, the customer is invited to the project management tool. And I do some things on the tool before even starting the first call with them. And that is from the research that we did earlier. Maybe I put some stuff in there, like the links to their websites, the recent publications, like something that would be relevant to the project. Any links, any notes, any topics, anything that has to do with the project, I would put it in the project management tool in a shape of a message, a link, a ticket, whatever it is. I also go through the statement of work from which I can extract some requirements, user stories. I know that it's not complete, it's not perfect at this point, but then I would use that and I put it as tickets on the project management tool. And the idea behind all of this is to show the customer that you are ahead of the game, that you are ready, that you are prepared, that you are moving, you're making progress. I think that one of the most important things about project management tools is that everyone involved with the project could see progress. And they see progress by seeing tickets moving from one status to another. They see messages being sent there, action items getting ticked off. So when people see progress on the project management tool, they know that things are moving. It doesn't necessarily get completed, but knowing, just like before meeting you, they know that you're already making progress. So this also earns a little bit of trust. Like, this person we can trust, they are already working on the project that we are working together on. And another thing here is agendas. So it's going to be the first call. Then let's send that agenda out. And I've seen it before where people put the agenda like 5 minutes before the call. Or maybe like the good ones would put the agenda a few hours before the call. While this is helpful, it's not the best. I think that we should set the agenda as early as possible. Sometimes I put the agenda out 1 week prior. So not necessarily be like we may not have booked the first session, but typically, if you know, and I know sometimes that we don't know exactly what the discussion is going to be about, but if we already know what the discussion is going to be about, then it would be a good idea to do that ahead of time. For example, typically when I start a new project, the first session is after the kickoff call. The first session, which is a discovery session, would likely be a demo. I just demo a little bit of Salesforce. That's the solution that I'm working on. Show them something similar to what they need. And then tell them about the terminologies, tell them about how the project is going to be managed, what we're going to do first, what we're going to do second. So pretty much the agenda is known. It's the same agenda for pretty much every customer, except that I make some edits to it to make it personalized and relevant to the current project. So that's the agenda. I put the agenda in the project management tool because sometimes we haven't booked that session yet on the calendars. And I prefer to keep everything related to the project in the project management tool, hence project management tool. So I prefer to keep everything, even agendas, in there. And sometimes, I have done this before, I would put more than one agenda. So I know that sometimes when we know the upcoming 5 sessions, so we're going to have 2 sessions for discovery, 2 working sessions, or maybe let's say like we have 4 discovery sessions about 4 different topics. So I know the first one is going to be a demo. I demo Salesforce. The second one, they show me their business processes, and the third session is going to be PowerDot discussion. The fourth session is going to be, sometimes we know what the first 3 or 4 sessions would be like. So I put 4 or 5 agendas for all of these. Throughout these weeks, things come up, things change. So I go and update those agendas. So it's fine to just like put an initial agenda, and this is helpful when the customer sees this. First, they see that you're making progress. They see that you're on top of it. That earns you some trust. They also know what topics they're going to discuss. They can prepare for these topics, and most importantly, they know which who are the stakeholders that need to attend those meetings. You don't want to invite 10 people, and then you're at the end of the day you realize that there was only 2 of those people that needed to be on this call. Why would we waste the time of these 8 other people? And wasting time is not the biggest problem. This is like this takes away from the trust. It takes away from being organized part. When they see that you are not organized, you lose a little bit of trust from the entire organization, and particularly from those 8 people that wasted time. So this is the agendas part, and then all of this together, or like the entire project management tool, is meant to show progress. So sending progress updates, which is typically the project manager would do that, but as a consultant you would sometimes have to be the one communicating that. And even if there is a project manager, I would think that it is still partially your responsibility as a Salesforce consultant or admin to communicate progress, and that progress is communicated by multiple means. Just seeing tickets getting moved on the project management tool shows progress. Sending one message about the progress every now and then, every week, every couple of days, this is also progress. Putting comments under each ticket, even if the customer doesn't necessarily understand what's happening. Like if you work on a ticket and maybe like you build a flow, but you haven't tested it yet. So you put a comment in there that, the flow is built, the remaining to do here is testing this, and then moving forward we'll need the customer to test something like this. It doesn't have to even be a message to the customer. It's more of a message to you, so that when you come back to this ticket you remember what to do. Or maybe that is a message to the team, so that they see what is done and what is remaining to do in this ticket. They see the progress on this ticket. The customer might not understand what you just said, and sometimes I personally put something like note to self, or like maybe note to team. The customer doesn't necessarily need to understand what you wrote down. You might even put note to self or note to team, just like to know what the progress is. The customer would see that. You remember, like the exact content of the message is not exactly meaningful to the customer. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. But the most important thing is that they see progress. They see progress. So like all of what we have been talking about so far is part of being organized and being prepared. There are other things, there are other measures that we take in order to establish more trust. We'll talk about them in future videos. That's all for now. Thank you.